The studio lights were warm, the couch was bright, and the mood felt easy, until it wasn't. Blake Shelton sat across from Jenna, laughing about tour mishaps, trading jokes with the band off camera. He leaned back, relaxed, boots crossed at the ankle, the easy confidence of someone who'd done 1,000 interviews and survived them all. The audience laughed when he teased himself about forgetting lyrics he'd written himself. Jenna smiled, nodding along, the producers in the control room giving subtle thumbs up as the segment flowed just the way morning TV liked it, light, charming, harmless. Then a question landed a little too sharp. It wasn't meant to sting, at least not on paper. It came wrapped in polite language and a friendly tone, but there was an edge underneath, about country music, about cultural responsibility, about whether artists owed their audiences a stance on issues bigger than music. Blake's smile thinned, just slightly, the way it does when someone hears a note that's a half step off. He shifted on the couch, cleared his throat, and answered calmly at first, choosing words like stepping stones across a fast river. "I've always believed music's supposed to bring people together," he said, voice even. "Not turn every song into a debate." A few people clapped. Someone in the audience let out a soft, ahem. Jenna nodded, sensing the shift, but the follow-up came quickly, tighter, more pointed. It reframed the question, pressing him on whether staying neutral was, in itself, a choice. The kind of question that sounds reasonable but carries a quiet challenge inside it. The room changed. You could feel it in the pause before Blake spoke again. He looked down at his hands for a second, thumbs rubbing together, then back up. The grin he usually wore like armor didn't quite come back this time. He tried humor first, deflection, a quick joke, a half smile aimed at the audience. Normally, that would have earned an easy laugh. This time, it fell flat, landing somewhere between polite chuckles and uncomfortable silence. "Well," he said, drawing the word out, "I don't think folks tune in to hear me lecture them before their coffee." The band chuckled. The audience laughed, but it sounded thinner now. Jenna leaned in slightly, her voice gentler, trying to smooth the edges. "Of course," she said. "But people look up to you. They listen." Blake nodded, slowly, as if weighing something heavier than the question itself. Cameras zoomed in, catching the flicker of thought behind his eyes. Years of interviews, controversies, praise, backlash, he'd seen it all. He answered again, carefully, emphasizing respect for differing views, the importance of personal choice, the role of music as an escape. It was thoughtful, measured, the kind of response that usually ended conversations. But momentum had already tipped. Another comment followed, not hostile, but persistent. It framed his answer as avoidance, gently but unmistakably. Blake's jaw tightened. He inhaled, then exhaled through his nose. For a split second, the polished TV version of him slipped, replaced by something more raw, more human. The audience sensed it. You could hear the shifting in seats, the rustle of anticipation. "I came here to talk about my new music," he said, his voice still calm but firmer now. "About the tour, about the fans. That's what I signed up for." Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but he raised a hand, not aggressively, just enough to signal he needed a moment. The band fell silent. The producers' voices crackled urgently in the host's earpieces. "I respect that people care about these things," Blake continued. "Truly. But I don't think it's fair to push someone into a corner on live TV and call it conversation." The word, push, hung in the air. He reached up and unclipped his mic, setting it down gently on the table between them. The sound was soft, but it echoed louder than any raised voice could have. Gasps rippled through the audience. Jenna's eyes widened just a touch, not fear, but surprise. "Blake," she started. He stood. Not abruptly, not in anger. It was controlled, deliberate. He straightened his jacket, nodded once toward Jenna, then toward the audience. "Thank you for having me," he said. "I wish you all the best." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then a few people clapped, unsure if they should. The applause spread unevenly, hesitant, conflicted. Cameras scrambled to follow him as he stepped away from the couch. The floor director waved frantically, signaling to cut, to adjust, to do anything to contain the moment, but it was already live, already happening. As Blake walked off set, the bright studio gave way to the dimmer hallway behind the scenes. His boots echoed against the floor, each step steady. Crew members parted instinctively, some avoiding eye contact, others watching with a mix of awe and disbelief. A producer hurried after him, whispering something urgent, but Blake shook his head once, not slowing. Back in the studio, Jenna sat frozen for a second, then turned to the camera with a practiced smile that couldn't quite hide the shock. She filled the silence with professionalism, thanking viewers, teasing the next segment, steering the show back on track as best she could. But the energy had shifted permanently. Everyone could feel it. Behind the curtain, Blake paused near a dressing room door. He leaned against the wall, closed his eyes briefly, and let out a long breath. Whatever adrenaline had carried him through the moment was starting to fade. A staffer offered him water. He took it, nodding his thanks. "I didn't mean to make a scene," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Outside, social media was already lighting up. Clips were being shared, reactions forming in real time, some praising him for standing his ground, others criticizing him for walking out. But in that hallway, away from the cameras, it was just a man who'd drawn a line and chosen not to cross it. And the echo of his boots faded down the corridor, leaving behind a morning show, and an audience that would be talking about that moment long after the next segment aired.